Every 3 years, Rotary International convenes a meeting in Evanston to review Rotary's various governing documents, the bylaws, policies, procedures, stuff like that. Every district in Rotary sends one voting representative to this meeting, and it's my honor tonight to introduce our district's representative to the 2016 Council on Legislation. He's going to give us an update on the significant measures that were discussed and adopted there. Yay. I have introduced Clarence before, and I always find it remarkable that he keeps coming back to our club to speak without actually checking to see who's going to introduce him. For those of you who don't know him, as soon as he begins speaking, you'll realize that he's not from here. As a matter of fact, he's a native of the almost heaven state, West Virginia. He attended and played varsity basketball for the Marshall University Thundering Herd. Anybody who knows a West Virginia Mountaineer, Western University Mountaineer, they call that the other school in West Virginia. I'm sure Clarence doesn't like that, but Clarence once told me that he played against another great West Virginian, Jerry West, from junior high through college, making you wonder how much Clarence had to do with Jerry's election to the NBA Hall of Fame. In Rotary, Clarence has held about every significant job at the club and district level, including district governor in 2007 and 8. If you remember Dan's talk, Dan was president of this club when Clarence was governor. He's one of the grand old Rotarians in the district, with the emphasis on old. But I would like to squash the rumor that I actually knew Paul Harris personally. Please join me in welcoming great Rotarian friend of our club from the Rotary Club of Rancho Cordova, past District Governor Clarence Parkins. I'm afraid to turn the microphone over, but I'm not sure what's going to happen now.
Fred, you should be afraid of what's going to happen.
It's all, you got to flip this way. Click it. There you go.
I spoke recently at a Rotary event, and I thought Ray was copying Steve Lemon. Steve thought I'd talk too long, so he just turned the microphone off.
We're going to use that on you.
Yeah, so that might be a good thing for Fred. But Fred, I do want to thank you for giving most of my talk. That's we'll get everybody out here a lot earlier. You know, I give Ray Ward a lot of credit. This is probably the I don't know, 4th or 5th time that we've been to a Rotary meeting when I've spoken. He's heard the same thing. So he absolutely didn't know I was talking tonight, or he wouldn't have been here. And Dean Hendricks, I know you've heard it too, so you can go if you want to. And then Bill Wagner, I have to keep it honest, Bill printed out what I'm going to say. So he's following me word for word. Anyway, I am really thrilled to be here. I always enjoy coming to Rancho Cordova North. But as Fred said, the Council on Legislation meets every 3 years. We've been doing this since the 50s. One time they were meeting at the Rotary International Convention, and since 1983, they've been meeting every 3 years in Chicago. There are 534 districts in Rotary, and each district sends one representative. This year, 530 of the districts sent a representative. So I want to give you just a little bit of background, and I'd like for you to imagine this huge room in Chicago, downtown Chicago, with 530 past district governors. So if you think there wasn't a lot of air in that room, but there were 530 of us, and they had 5 microphones across the room, and then up on the stage, they had the chair, and the chair would control the meeting. And with him, they had 3 other seasoned Rotarians who were the bylaw and constitution committee. So anything that came up that there was some question about, was it legal, they would rule on it right then. And the microphones were there for the delegates to vote or question or add to whatever the enactment was. Now there are 2 kinds of Rotary bylaws that we talked about. One was enactments, and an enactment actually changes the bylaws, the Constitution, or the standard club constitution. Then the other thing was resolutions. And resolutions are simply requests that the board of directors of Rotary look at whatever the issue might be. Now Rotary clubs, the 34,000 plus Rotary clubs around the world, all send in recommendations to the council during this 3-year interval between councils. And then those are the things that they have to be in by December 31st. And then we get them about February, and then we go in April and actually deal with them. The person that is presenting the enactment faces the audience. And I presented one, and believe me, it is a scary sight to look out and see all these people from all these different countries, all different kinds of dress, speaking 7 languages, and they have interpreters and they have earphones that they're interpreting what you're saying in 7 languages. And I know they had a problem with me trying to interpret West Virginia talk. But there was a lot of strange looks on people's face when I was making my presentation, but I think they got it. But anyway, then in addition to the 530 delegates, voting delegates there were every living past Rotary International president was there. The board of directors were there, and they invited over 50 observers to come and just observe the council doing their work. So there was easily well over 600 people in the room for the work we did. We started on Sunday at 3 o'clock and ended Friday at noon. We started every day at 8 in the morning and finished at 4:30 in the evening. So you really have to be a Rotary junkie to sit there for 5 days and listen to all these various enactments and then vote on them. And they seat you by, the first 3 days they seat you by the first 3 letters of your first name, and the second 3 days they seat you by the first 3 letters of your last name. So you're sitting by somebody different on either side of you twice during the week. And I like to tell the story that the second 3 days, the fellow sitting on my right was a fellow from Germany, and he couldn't stay awake. He would go to sleep, especially after meals. And they would do the presentations, and then they'd call for the vote, and he would wake up to see how I voted, and he'd vote the same way. So I like to say our district, we really got 2 votes for everything we had there. And once the enactment was presented, then they would call for the people that wanted to speak on the various enactments to come up, and you take a card with you. If you were speaking to endorse the enactment and agree with it and add something to it, you'd hold up a green card. If you objected to it and wanted to speak against it, you'd hold up a red card. And if you wanted some more clarification, or you didn't understand something, or you wanted to make an amendment, you'd hold up a yellow card. And what the chair then would do, all these folks would be lined up with holding up cards behind the microphones, and he would call on a green card or a red card, and he'd try to even it out so that they had so many pros and so many cons. And then when they felt they had enough, somebody would stand up with this card. And it was the most popular card because it was a card that says, "We want to end debate." Everybody was awfully happy when they saw the striped card come up. But we did do a lot of things at this council, and they say it was the most progressive council that we ever had. And I'd like to go through just a few of the major things with you that happened that were all effective on July 1. I guess the buzzword for this council was flexibility. Everything we did just about was making Rotary clubs more flexible. First thing was with meetings and attendance. Right now, the Rotary Constitution says that the Rotary Club should meet once a week, unless they have a dark day, or unless they do, the board decides on a project to count as a meeting. But you have to meet once a week. That's the Rotary Constitution. Attendance, if you miss a meeting, you're expected to make up 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after the meeting to make up the meeting. And if you miss 4 meetings in a row, the Constitution says the club can ask for your removal from Rotary. Well, that stayed the same. None of that changed. But the thing that really changed was that now the club board of directors can change all of that. The club board of directors can vote to meet twice a month, can meet once a month at a meal, another time online, meet all 4 meetings online, all 4 meetings in the club. Whatever the board determines is your club's, what you want to do. You have the flexibility to change your bylaws to do that. In the attendance, if you want to not require any attendance requirement, the board just simply needs to change your bylaws to that effect. If you want to let a person miss every meeting and come once a year, you can do that too. But you need to change your bylaws. So that is all giving the club the power to set your own rules and regulations. You can do it the way you want to do it. And this is really, those of you who have been around Rotary for a long time know what a major step that is to our way of thinking. Kinds of membership. There are now 2 kinds of memberships in Rotary. There is an active member and an honorary member. That doesn't change. However, the board now can add membership types. You can add a family membership. You can add a corporate membership. You can order, and I understand your club already does, you can add an associate membership. All it requires is your board to put into your standard club constitution those changes and the rules you have for each type of membership. So that is a major change as far as membership is concerned. Dues, this took about half a day. And I won't go into all the gory details, but the Board of Directors Finance Committee presented a very elaborate PowerPoint that showed right now Rotary dues increase $1 a year, every year $1 more. And you know, that doesn't sound like a lot until you consider that Rotary has 1.2 million members. So every time we have a $1 increase, that's $1.2 million into Rotary. Now, the Finance Committee put this presentation together showing, and this is something that was never really fully explained, or I was sleeping and missed it, that Rotary is required to maintain a $71 million reserve fund. Now what that $71 million, how that number came from, what it represents, I really don't know. But the treasurer pointed out that at $1 a year increase would be all right this year. But starting next year, we'd start falling below that line. And in 3 years, we would be well below the line that we'd be eating into the reserve that we're required to maintain. So, and the threat was that you pass this and we'll go along with $1 a year for the next 3 years, but you'll see we'll have to start cutting services to make up for the loss in revenue that we're not going to be able to have to maintain our reserve. Kind of one humorous thing, one of the questions came up when they were presenting this, well, does that mean that you'll improve the website if we approve a dues increase? And those of you who've been on the Rotary website probably know it needs a little improvement. Anyway, the board recommended the following: $1 increase for this year, 2016, 2017. Then $4, 2017-18, $4, 2018-19, $4, 19-20. So that's a $12 increase over the next 3 years in order to keep our funds flowing to keep us above the $71 million. So I guess what this is saying to our Rotary clubs is that we need to do some pretty good planning to make sure that we're able to do the things we need to do and still cover those dues increases. Right now, we pay $55 a member to Rotary International. Next year, this year we're in now, will be $56. Next year will be $60, then $64, and then $68 a year. So we just got to operate smoother. And I say this, I really hope that your board of directors and your future board of directors can find a way to absorb those increases without raising the dues to your members. Because that's the thing that I think, all of this, everything we talked about at the council was how do we keep Rotary affordable? And that is something that is a concern, and that is something we need to do. Bill, you had?
How was the discussion on membership levels impacting the discussion on dues? Because they are related to each other if membership is declining. Actually,
it is declining. It's declining in North America, but membership is actually increasing in other parts of the world. It's not increasing much, but we're basically staying just about even. While we're bringing in one door, we seem to be losing out the back door. So these figures are all based on our maintaining that same level of membership. And so that's what we have to all work hard to be sure that we do. So I don't want to go into a lot more. Then I'll be glad to stick around and talk to you about it after the meeting if you want to. But a couple of other things I do want to let you know about. And one is talk about making Rotary less expensive. And your club may not do it, but admission fees, or some clubs call them indoctrination fees, where you charge a new member. The club I spoke to the other day says, how are we going to pay for all the badges and pins? That's what they use that admission fee for. That is gone. No more can the Rotary Club charge it. And I don't know if you do or not, but if you do, you don't. You're indicating that you don't. That's a good thing. The rule of 85. Most people know what the rule of 85 is. If your years in Rotary plus your age totals 85, you're exempt from attendance. That doesn't change, except the addition to that was that in order to qualify for the rule of 85, you must have been in Rotary for 20 years. So in other words, you can't be 75, be in Rotary for 10 years, and qualify for the rule of 85. So, but here again, it's a moot point if your board makes the decision not to make attendance a mandatory thing. So another thing was Rotaractors. Rotaractors can now be members of Rotary simultaneously while they're in Rotary. The reason for that is, while it's not that big a deal in our country, some countries have very high numbers of people in Rotaract. And they say when they graduate, they lose them in Rotary. Now, if they can get them into Rotary while they're still in Rotaract, then that would be a natural transition for them when they move out. E-clubs. There is no longer an E-club. Everybody's a Rotary club. Rotary clubs can meet online or sit down. E-clubs can meet online or have sit-down meetings. So there is no such thing as an E-club anymore. Here again, the only requirement is that you have 2 meetings a month total. The board, so don't be doing this. The board can suspend a club if they sue Rotary International without going through all the administrative steps before you sue them. I guess some clubs in India have a habit of every time they don't like something, they sue Rotary for it. And so you can't do that anymore.
They're called barristers.
So basically, it was just a tremendous experience. I've been to a number of Rotary International conventions, and there's a lot of internationality in a Rotary convention. But there's nothing like a Council on Legislation, where you have people from every country in the Rotary world there, interacting for a week on nothing but Rotary. So I say, if you're a real Rotary junkie, the Council on Legislation is probably something you ought to do. I'd like to answer any questions that anybody might have. Bill?